Welcome to Cloud Dialogues. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
I think we're ready to go. And welcome everyone back to Cloud Dialogues. And today I've got Georgia. Say hi, Georgia. Oh, sorry, she's drinking. And we've also, as per usual, and Anu. Say hello, Anu.
Hello, everyone.
Anu was lucky enough to visit Vegas last week for Google Next 2025, which I think dominated all the news headlines. And we'll go through some of those key takeaways later. But first, we'll go to the news. So, Georgia. Shareholder letter. That happens every year, doesn't it? The AWS
once a
letter to
year, every year.
Shareholders. Our friend Mr. Jassy wrote it, did he?
Yeah, he was mainly talking about AI.
Oh,
Surprise.
really? I can't believe that. I can't believe that at all.
Yeah, so I think all in all, they had a total revenue increase of 11% year over year. So they're up at 638 billion now, with the main kind of driver of that being AWS, of course. So they were up 19% over
Yeah.
the last year. So, and then I guess key themes were around cost reduction of AI, basically centrally talking about the Trainium 2 chips, which I think we've spoken about before.
Yeah.
30 to 40% better price performance. He was speaking about AI integration, Amazon developing over 1,000 generative AI applications, not surprising, and investing in data centers. So, yeah, killing the planet, I guess.
Side note, I was using Amazon Q today and it didn't help me very much. So
Really?
just a note to AWS, they probably should know your products a little bit better. So I had to go to ChatGPT to help me, which it did. So
Honestly, I feel like I get way more out of Anthropic than I get out of anything else. Like
yeah.
Anthropic, the level of like reasoning that Anthropic gives is just so useful. Like, oh my
Yeah, I know.
goodness,
I use it
so
mostly, but
useful.
sometimes if I'm
Oh,
doing a quick query or something, I'll just run in ChatGPT. But I mean, Amazon Q, it was asking me for silly things in my account that it knows are there. It's like, give me the ARN for this service you're having trouble with. Well, it's right there on the screen, dude. Like, I mean, so I had to copy and paste it into the chat. Anyway, they've got to really
well,
work
we
on that.
normally use Anthropic to code, don't we?
Yeah, normally I do, but I
Yeah,
was just doing some quick stuff and I didn't want to. Yeah. Anyway,
That's
I just want to do something
great
quick.
tool.
yeah, that's so interesting to see the common themes here. Looks like it was not Google Next where the AI and the cost reduction was the main focus center.
The main
It's it's
theme.
it's
Oh, really?
Yeah.
it's almost everywhere. Yeah. So this particular Next, they have been all about AI and building these different models. And also you mentioned about Anthropic and Amazon Q or be it OpenAI or ChatGPT. Right? So
Yeah.
it is everywhere. Interoperability, generative AI, cost reduction, and security.
Yeah, the security is actually probably going to be a big one,
Yeah.
especially with MCPs, but we'll talk about that a bit later. The next item we've got, Georgia loves talking about data centers. So
Mm. Hmm.
I saw an article saying global data center electricity use is set to double by 2030. And strangely enough, the cause is AI. It happened before AI,
What do you mean?
like as in, would we have used less electricity? Like,
Well, yeah.
it's just, it's just
Yeah.
it's just mental, isn't it?
Well,
But
I think the reality is that in the UK, as an example, and I don't know where America, I think America is going to have the same problems, is that we don't have enough power for this. The grid was not built to support this, right? So we're already at a point where the level of price sensitivity to demand for space to build data centers is largely based on access to power and access to high voltage power, right? And that's just not access to high voltage power is something that needs to be planned years in advance. And
Yeah.
we're well, obviously there's been discussion about potential to have rolling blackouts because if you turn off a DC, you all of a sudden unbalance the grid. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. But I also think my personal view is that I think we're going to end up doing a lot more on the edge over the next few years.
Mm.
And I think that that's going to like stabilize the power usage issue a little bit. And I also think we're going to be less reliant on LLMs. Like LLMs are these massive, models that use a lot of power and a lot of compute, right? Whereas I think as businesses utilize AI more, there'll be more distillation of models
Yeah.
and they'll be able to be used on the edge more but that's my hope, I guess. But I guess we'll see where we end up.
Yeah, decentralizing it would help a lot because then, they'll help a lot for many reasons, right? Getting the models close to the data, where the data
Yeah.
is and all that sort of stuff, because there's a lot of data that won't be in cloud and models need the data to be able to be useful. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting topic. The headline of that, by the way, was surpassing Japan's total consumption today. So that's just crazy. So so electricity use will more than double by 2030. So surpassing.
But see, this is the
total
thing. I think
consumption.
that they're just I think that these sort of alarmist headlines, and don't get me wrong, I think this is something we should be worried about, right? I think we need to I feel like there's not enough talk about what are we actually doing to the environment. There's talk about cost, there's talk about efficiency, but there's like, well, also, what is the impact that we're having to the environment? But I think that this is a bit sensationalist. Like, I think we're not factoring in, well, we're not factoring in the improvement of the efficiency of the
That's
technology
true.
over time, right? So, like, whilst, yes, I think that the government and like the governments and whether they're, most of the grids are somewhat government, pseudo government managed as well as privately managed. They need to be having this conversation to make sure that they are planning for data centers because obviously we've moved from a world where everybody's data center was next to their office, so things are much more distributed, right? Whereas now we've just got these huge data centers running the bulk of lots of large scale organizations. So it's just a different requirement in terms of what the grid does.
Yeah, I mean, it was the register, so yes, it was a bit sensationalist, but anyway, that's it got my attention.
Yeah, I mean, I think we definitely need to be concerned about it.
Yeah, for sure. I saw that we were talking about coding editors the other day, Georgia, and I see that OpenAI is looking in talks to buy Windsurf. So there's Cursor, which I use, and then there's Windsurf, which is a sort of a competing one. They're all forks of VS Code, and OpenAI apparently want to buy them for about $3 billion. That's just crazy money for an editor.
Wow.
So I don't know if it's really going to happen or not, but OpenAI are a little bit on the back foot with coding tools. They just released Claude Code.
Okay.
Anthropic released Claude Code a few months back, and it's been like very well received. A lot of developers use it quite a lot, and OpenAI didn't have anything like it until I think they've just released, or something's in beta now. So they're sort of catching up a little bit. So I guess this purchasing Windsurf is sort of helping them try and get back in the game a bit because they, other than releasing a few extra models in the last week or so, I'm a bit bored talking about new models because it seems to happen so regularly. They've been a bit behind Anthropic. So
I was trying to understand what type of model Codium was.
So Windsurf, it's like Cursor in that it can use any model. So you plug in an API key and it can use any of the mainstream models from Google.
Oh, okay. It combines proprietary language models with integrations of large scale models. Okay.
Yes. Yep. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. So that's breaking news today, I think, last night. So we'll see if that eventuates. These deals can
Interesting.
take time, but if they get leaked to the media, then there must be some truth to it.
Early discussions.
What else have we got here? Oh, I thought this was
Nvidia.
interesting. Nvidia, with all the export tariffs, US government craziness, Nvidia reckons they'll get a $5.5 billion hit because they are not allowed to sell chips to China.
Where is the stock price at right now?
I'm not sure. But I'm wondering if that...
It's down. I think it was down
Oh,
about
it's
6.8%
yeah.
over the last day.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting, and that's probably going to be more of that to come as well.
Gosh. Chaos. Absolute chaos.
And speaking of the edge, I saw this article by a guy who went to KubeCon London. He thought Kubernetes had peaked, but he was wrong. KubeCon London was like last week or the week before.
Yes.
And he said there was like 12,000 people there at Excel, and he said it was just absolutely crazy, the amount of people, the amount of interest, and it must be a lot of all the AI stuff. People doing a lot of AI on the edge, so infrastructure's cool again, I guess, and people are that's actually probably a useful use case for Kubernetes, running your models on the edge in a high, reliable way. Obviously, you still need to have proper infrastructure and everything to be able to run it properly, and teams and a platform. But I think maybe that might be one use case that people are going to, might be a bit of a revival for Kubernetes due to that reason.
Yeah, I think
I feel like people go.
Now, I was just going to say, I think, you definitely need a robust and strong infrastructure, the underlying infrastructure to run some of those powerful LLMs and the AI models. Along with all the AI theme, there was a lot of emphasis on the enhancements and the updates that even Google has been doing on the GKE side and some of the CPUs. And hey,
because they provide a way to run that on the edge, don't they?
Yeah. And even all the agentic AI, right? So all the agents that are being developed, they are pretty much serverless, and they almost everything runs on Kubernetes clusters under the hood.
Yeah, okay. Yep. Yeah, it needs to be able to spin up, spin down fast, and to be able to, especially not only just for running the inference, but also obviously, especially if you're doing your own training, fine tuning, and all that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah.
The last item I've got is Google have announced, I think it was the week before. Yeah, I think it was the week before Google Next. They announced that they're embracing Anthropic's standard for connecting AI models to data, which is MCP. So that means the three major model providers are embracing it as a standard, which is good because, if everyone's using it, then it will become the way people do things, which is good because it's currently full of security issues, which is slowly improving. But I think there's a lot of potential. People are chomping at the bit to install MCP servers for lots of things, but there's not even a standardized authentication mechanism yet, although maybe there is one now. But I think there's a lot of, there's potential for a lot of data leaks using this technology. So people have to, think about what they're exposing and where they're exposing it. But hopefully the standardization means that there'll be a bunch of brains at the, big three to sort of fix that problem sort of quickly, I think. And that's the news. So we have a new back from Vegas. We know Vegas is a fun place, isn't it? Tell us what it was like. How many people were there?
Oh, this time I think there were close to 35,000 every time. So I was in Vegas last year as well, and I heard Google saying that this is the biggest ever Google Next. And this was said even this year. So definitely there were more people than last year. It was close to 35,000, which was massive.
Yeah. How many hotels does it cover? Do you know?
Oh, so it's like almost all the hotels or casinos on the
Okay.
strip.
Yeah, so it's a bunch of them.
Yeah,
Yeah. The same as similar to reInvent.
yeah,
So it's full of a lot of Google fans.
everywhere. Interestingly, the hotel prices went up quite significantly for those 5 days. And I was like, oh no, it's almost like 5 times or 6 times the original price. But
Oh,
thankfully,
really?
yeah, yeah. But then I think Google, they cracked a deal with their hotel, so they dropped down the prices by 70% exclusively only for the Google Next
Oh
attendees.
my goodness. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, those hotels can be pretty pricey, especially during those times. Cool. So, did you go to all the keynotes? How many was there? A few keynotes?
Yeah, usually, so there are a few keynotes. One is for the customers and all the Google Cloud users, and then there's one specific to the partners and also one for the developers. So I managed to attend two in the hall, but for the original keynote that was delivered by Thomas Kurian himself, I wasn't able to get into the hall. It was massive. Everyone was,
Too packed.
yeah. Someone told me I try to be there by 8 a.m. for a 9 a.m. start. I'll be there by half past, and I missed it. So I had to attend the
Oh
streaming
no.
session.
Yeah. I was going to say that they must have broadcasted it, right?
Oh yeah, there were quite a few rooms where they broadcasted this, so there was a live streaming going on. But the atmosphere, the kind of, the sense that you get when you are sitting in the theater with so many people packed, and that was electrifying. That was completely different.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely good to go there live. Sometimes I catch them in the hotel room because, especially if I have a big night the night before, so, yeah, streaming in the hotel room is good. But yeah, usually they'll have different rooms, right, for
Yeah.
to catch it if you want to catch it with a bunch of other people.
Yeah, interestingly, all those rooms were called keynote overflow rooms.
Overflow.
So, what were the key takeaways that you got from the keynotes? Are they focusing on
To be
only
honest,
AI or is it just AI?
well, in a nutshell, yes, it's all about AI. But to be honest, and even after hearing out the news that we just had, I think the theme is common, no matter whether it's Google or AWS or Microsoft or others, but across the industry, it is obviously AI. So I did even mention in one of my posts at Stack, the emphasis was on digitization, right? So everyone was talking about digital modernization or
Mm-hmm.
adopting digitalization in all the phases of the different industries. Right now, it is about AI, and AI is, although it sounds like a buzzword, but it is pretty much touching almost all the facets of the industry, be it the developers, be it the consumers, be it the users, or be it the actual business owners or the people who are actually running the business. Yeah,
Mm.
definitely AI was there, but it was touching all the different aspects of the IT such.
Yeah, and I think that's different to how ML used to be a thing quite regularly, but that was more for the tech people, right? And it wasn't an end user service. It was more of a developer slash data scientist sort of thing. But it's a completely different world now, right?
Exactly. See, I did see a post by someone on LinkedIn a couple of days back. There was a question: Is ML, is machine learning and AI? Is machine learning part of AI? Well, this is interesting how the machine learning, because if you look at it, right, so under the hood, it is all machine learning. But how it has evolved and how easy it has been made these days, that if you understand the business logic with the tools that are available, I mean, the proficiency might be different, but you can still get the job done.
Mm. And Google was late to the game, weren't they? Because it was kind of Anthropic and OpenAI for quite a bit. and then Google sort of were like, we won't talk about AWS. I mean, they've been playing catch up anyway, but Google were, pretty slow with their models, and they're only just coming to fruition now, really. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that sometimes, right? So the way we say Google was very late for the cloud platforms or cloud platform offerings, but they have been using this infrastructure. They have had these offerings for their own in-house services, be it Gmail and YouTube and others. And similarly, I think even in terms of AI or machine learning, they had been using these technologies in-house. It's just that everyone wants a piece of the pie when the pie has been introduced to the outside world. See, when they say, okay, there's an opportunity like blanketing these kind of services, you can offer a service on top and it can help you basically sort of create a revenue stream. So I think that's pretty much what is happening now. And of course, with the likes of OpenAI and Pod or even Gemini, GenAI was introduced just like a couple of years back. So I think, yeah, they had the processes and these things in model, but obviously they are, yeah, trying to be in competition or alongside the other players in the market in the AI space or Gen AI space, to be specific.
Yeah. What other things? Was there any non-AI stuff? What about cloud?
There was
Yeah.
cloud. If you say non-AI stuff, I would probably say none. Almost
Oh,
everything,
really?
almost everything was revolving around AI. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff around the AI hypercomputer that basically underpins the massive scale that's needed for the Gen AI workloads. There were a few announcements around the enhancements that they have done on GKE, which is again around the
Oh, yeah.
introduction of the inference gateway and also support for the VLLMs. There were quite a few announcements around the Cloud Run, which is the serverless service from GCP, around the computing capabilities. All these announcements were pretty much revolving around the AI sort of enhancements or support.
Aspects. Yeah.
Exactly.
So does Cloud Run? I know it's fairly well renowned for doing containers and all that sort of stuff in an easy manner. Does it have like functionality to use the models in an easy way, or is
I
it
think
like
that was one
their
of the, it's like
integrations?
Kubernetes integration, AI Kubernetes integration was, I think, something that came up. Been some optimization for AI workloads.
Yeah, and I think specifically for Cloud Run, slowly how I see Google going about the whole containerization stuff, they are slowly trying to create less and less differentiation between the Kubernetes and the Cloud Run, just as such, because even the Cloud Run has sort of autopilot mode, which is again a GKE autopilot as well that is there. So they are just, it is under the hood pretty much the same infrastructure, the Kubernetes clusters based on the familiarity and what the end user wants. They are just trying to create or minimize that sort of gap between the GKE clusters and the Cloud Run instances.
Yeah, cool. Does Google have do they have like optimized instances for doing training and fine tuning and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah,
It
so
looks like they
you
do from the
have the
announcements.
yeah, so you have the specialized hardware under the hood that you can choose for the AI models if you specifically want that, like the TPUs, and they just also released the AI hypercomputer, which is hyper specialized for the LLMs and the AI models.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
That reminds me, I just recalled, say, yes, there were a couple of announcements, and one of the announcements that I remember, which was not related to AI, was around the cloud WAN, say, wide area network. Say, now Google have introduced this Google Cloud WAN service, which is now available for the enterprise grade. Big enterprises, they can actually use the Google's own private networking, so they can make use of Google WAN or Cloud WAN, which is Google's own network, and it is available for the enterprises to use it now.
Oh, is that similar to the AWS Transit Gateway, or actually AWS have a WAN version of the Transit Gateway as well? I guess it's similar
I
to
mean, it's
that.
just private fiber, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they've been hiring a lot of people to do that in the UK.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess for a lot of organizations, they're probably concerned about sovereignty, etc., and having a private network just makes that easier, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the private network is a bit different. So there is something known as Google Private Connect, wherein if you have your private networks and you want to hit a public endpoint, which is Google public endpoint, if you enable the private Google access, then you don't really have to travel or go via the internet. You can touch those public endpoints
Yeah,
from within the Google's network itself.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
amazing. Because Vertex is quite similar to like, and maybe this is tell me if this is the incorrect comparison. Vertex AI is like similar to Bedrock, yeah?
Um, I'm not fully across what exactly is Bedrock or how it works, but from my understanding, Vertex is basically an umbrella that they have created, a virtual umbrella kind of canvas under the hood. It is using Google's services like Kubeflow and the Kubernetes clusters to spin up the infrastructure. So rather than having to configure the different services yourself, you use Vertex AI, that is basically the umbrella of different services that gets the job done for you.
Maybe it's more like SageMaker.
Yes, I think that's the one.
Similar
Bedrock
to
is
that.
probably,
Yeah.
yeah.
Bedrock's more of
I don't
a
know.
way to access
ChatGPT
different
says
models.
yes, they are similar.
Oh, really?
Yeah. ChatGPT says yes, they
see
are
what
similar.
see
They
what
both
Claude
offer
says.
platforms for building and deploying AI applications, including those that leverage LLMs. However, they differ in their focus and approach to these tasks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's probably a lot of overlap in a lot of these services, I'd suspect.
And there's
Now,
just different options, right? And obviously, different customers take up different hyperscalers for a variety of reasons,
yeah.
right? Everyone's got their own requirements, and that's why we have three major players in the market, really, because they all
Yeah.
offer something slightly different.
Which is interesting that we have three players, but Microsoft isn't one of them. I mean, they have a partnership with OpenAI, right? But that's about it. They don't have their own models, which is kind of different to the other hyperscalers. So that's also interesting. The Bedrock comparison is interesting. Does Google have an ability to give a standardized access to the other models like what Bedrock does?
Yeah, so with Google now, they have that was one of the key theme as well, interoperability and making the services open source. So when I say interoperability, most of the open source agents like Claude and Llama and others are available
Yep.
in something known as Model Garden in Vertex AI.
Oh, okay. Yep. Model Garden. That's probably a bit more like Bedrock, I suspect.
Yeah, which
Ah,
is
this is
basically
like
part of
just
the Vertex AI now. So when you are configuring the
Yeah.
services, you can use task-specific models from within Vertex AI, or you can even choose the open source models from other
Yeah.
parties.
Okay. Yeah. So I think they've probably been a bit smarter and keeping it all under one umbrella, whereas AWS sort of separate them out a little bit, which is actually pretty confusing. Uh, like along with most of the AWS world, everything is a little bit more complex and separated, which can be confusing for those new to the environment.
I
Yeah,
feel like it's very MLP, right? Whereas probably
Yeah.
Google is a bit more like mature when they release products. That's
Yep.
just like a different strategy, right?
Yep.
You know that if you start using something that's coming from AWS shortly after it's released, it's going to be a nightmare.
Mm. I noticed they also released the agent development kit as well,
Yeah,
agent to agent.
that was one of the agent to agent is one of the framework that they have released, and then agent development kit is pretty much like for the developers to develop their own agents. So one of the main announcements was also around the AI agency. That is, again, pretty much nothing but a canvas that has been created under the hood. It is using the agentic AI toolkits, and it will have LLMs, again, running on either GKE or maybe Cloud Run or a VM,
Yeah.
again, depending on your requirements. And then it will probably use some other services like Dialogflow and creates that particular framework. So, which I think is quite interesting because they are pretty much managing the challenging or they are doing the heavy lifting. They are managing those challenging complex components, and you are pretty much
Yep.
just using that canvas to do the job.
To build it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be super important because there's going to be a lot of I mean, there has been in the past, but people are going to build a multi-agent systems, and a lot of the time they'll need to use different models at the back end depending on what the use case is, right? And also redundancy, because if one model, these models aren't always the inference for these models isn't always up all the time. Like it's not 100% availability, and if your business relies on it, you're going to need to be able to switch. So
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. There were quite a few customers, or there were quite a few organizations, people who have actually put these agents or put these technologies into action, and they are making practical use of it. So there was a case study that was shared by MLB, or Major League Baseball,
oh yeah,
and they showcased how they are streamlining some of the complex MLB operations around networking, specifically focusing around the networking operations using the agentic AI or the AI agents that they have developed on Google Cloud Platform, where they actually integrated the AI agents with their existing tools like the Slack for messaging or Netbox and their on-prem system. So it was quite fascinating to see those principles in action.
mm. Yeah, those sorts of use cases are interesting
Yeah.
because they're actually real live. Yeah, and there is a lot of valuable use for LLMs in business today. Even though it's the terms are probably overused a little bit, there are super interesting use cases that people are doing and experimenting with, which provide real value
Yeah,
for developers.
exactly right. I don't remember the exact number that was shared, but the actual one of the and sometimes it is very basic use cases. So I'd say they had very simple use case wherein if back in days we were talking about the back in days when we used to have the data centers, our own data centers, right? And we had to bounce a port because it became stale and it wasn't responding.
Yeah,
Say the agentic AI, it just raises a ticket and it will even bounce the port for you. It will just reboot that particular port for you as well, based on the interactions and the inputs from the user, which was quite fascinating to see.
yeah. So it can pretty much take over that first level, second level support
That's
type
right.
thing. So you're writing bad code, it's cheaper just to get a model to restart it than
Yeah.
fix the code.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll get worse as time goes on. I don't know.
We'll see.
Or the models will write bad code because people are using AI now to do their code, right? So the models will write bad code that they can fix themselves by restarting themselves. So it's like it's like
Yeah, because they should have like what's the word? Anti-drift mechanisms in place, right? To make sure that they're not moving too far away from, they're not drifting too much away from good code.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I think it's getting better, the coding stuff.
yeah, there was a post, I think a couple of days back, I was going through that. So someone said that it's not, let's not worry about the AI or AI agents taking our job. Let's worry about generating quality data so that these agents can be trained on the quality data so that they don't
Yeah.
start performing poor job for us.
Yeah. I hope they're not trained on my code, I'll tell you that much.
And this was exactly the best example. So that model that was trained by Twitter or X, Grok. And
Yep.
there were quite a few complaints about the users. The model was responding back to them using some abusive language. It turned out because the model was trained on
Funny
Because
that.
they
that
were
sort of data.
abusing it.
Yeah. Yeah, because the model was trained on the Twitter's
Wow.
data, right? And people
Yeah.
just write
Oh my God.
everything out there.
That's got to be bad. Like, surely we know from the outset that any model trained on Twitter data is going to be hugely problematic. Twitter is
That's
just
right.
a
Exactly. But hey, yeah, what do we expect?
seriously.
Is there any other? What was the week? Was there like a big exhibition hall, like lots of people selling their wares?
Uh, I think it was a combination of everything. I really liked the way it was segregated. So Mandalay Bay Convention Center was completely, I mean, it was booked for the whole event. So we had the expo center where there were all the vendors, all the different companies having their stalls at the booths with all the goodies. There were people were really selective in terms of which booth to visit because they wanted
Yeah,
some really cool swag. And
yeah, and everyone likes the swag, right?
exactly right. And some of the companies, they were quite smart. So they had this passport program as well, wherein if you go and visit these 10 booths and scan their QR code, you'll get Google branded swag. So they must have had
Ah,
that
okay.
some sort of deal with Google for that, so that paid people to go and visit those booths.
Yep.
The workshops were performed in dedicated showcase center from Google in the expo center itself, but then there were rooms in a different building that was primarily for the breakout sessions and some technical things. The keynote was a completely separate auditorium. And then obviously we had this big event night. I think that was on 9th, the Thursday. Yeah, Thursday the 9th, where we went to the Elegant Stadium and we had the performance by the Killers.
Oh yeah, that'd been cool.
Oh, it was amazing. It was awesome. Everyone was.
Oh, was that the football stadium?
Yes. No,
Yeah. Okay.
not the football stadium. That was basically the stadium for the performances.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yep. All right. Gotcha. So was Mandalay Bay the hub, like the main sort of hotel?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Mandalay Bay
It's
is.
kind of a little bit out of the action, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's a bit out of the way, Mandalay Bay.
It is almost at the far end where the strip starts or
Yeah.
ends. I mean,
Yep.
depending on where you're.
Depending on your point of view.
Exactly right. I think it is one of the oldest casino in there, but I like the shape of the building. There are like three sort of
25
arch.
years old.
Yeah.
Really?
25 years old. Yeah, well, opened in 1999.
Oh.
26 years old.
Oh wow.
You know, but that was
Yeah.
pretty good. We also had the opportunity to go and visit Sphere. So Google, they have been working with Sphere to develop a movie. I actually forgot the term that they use, which is quite bad, where they actually took a picture, a quite old picture, and then the Wizard of Oz experience is what it's called. Which was basically a collaboration between Sphere and Google to
Oh, okay. Yep.
regenerate one of the very old movie. And because Sphere, it's a huge screen, a big screen, so how the resolution would work, and also fill in some of the aspects, some of the components that were not previously present in the original movie, but they had to put that in this new version. It was quite amazing to see the kind of work that they have delivered, the final outcome, which was good too.
Sounds pretty cool. All right. Is there anything else? Any other key takeaways, or that's pretty much it?
Yeah, I think pretty much if I have to summarize it, say AI is the thing of the future, similar to the businesses or the organizations who have been trying to stay away from digitalization a few decades back, and then later
Yep.
on they face that challenge of getting out of their competition. I think it's pretty much the same era that the things are changing. Now it is the era of AI. People, I think, who are saying that now AI is just the hype or it's not for us, I think the sooner they are gonna experience that they are facing a lot of competition from the other businesses who are in their industry, because they are probably using. So it's not about you have to use AI. It's about coming up with a business case that AI can help you to enhance your sort of delivery in that particular stream. So I think that's one. Another key takeaway was mainly around interoperability. So gone are the days when if you are in the same sort of industry. So I still remember when the back in days, because I come from a storage and virtualization background, when EMC, NetApp, they were seen as the biggest
Yeah.
competitors.
Big competitors, yeah.
So you are not,
You're one or the other.
yeah, that gone are those days. I mean, you need to look at how you can create your services that can be operated on the other cloud platform as well, or how you can integrate other services and other, like agent to agent announcement that was made, which is pretty much like how you develop an agent on Google Cloud Platform, and that can be integrated with a agent that's running on maybe Salesforce or other vendors, right? So,
Yeah.
which is again, I think pretty cool.
And Snowflake as well, right?
Yeah. And I think obviously the technology or the IT in itself is changing at a never seen pace,
It's crazy.
right? So it is changing every day, every week. So people used to say when we were still at the very early stage in the evolution of public cloud, right? Wait for another 5 years, 10 years. You will start coming back to the data centers. I think it's not the discussion about whether you need to migrate from data centers to cloud or from cloud to data centers. All the vendors, Google Cloud and even Oracle, now they are developing these stacks along with the hardware vendors, wherein something like Microsoft Azure Stack, right? So you have your rack on premises and you get all the services, all the capabilities of cloud platform within your data center. Now it's up to you whether you want it to connect to the public cloud or you want to completely isolate it. I think that's also one of the trend that I've seen of late.
Yeah. That's all that edge stuff, right? So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that pans out. Thanks for your time. Do you have a really great discussion? Do you have a plug? You got a company, haven't you?
Sorry, what was that?
Do you want to give? Do you want to give
Oh, we've
your
got a
company a
plug.
plug?
A plug.
This is your plug. This is your plug time, Anu.
Yep.
Plug your company, or give your company a shout
Or
out,
your project, or
or your project,
whatever.
or whatever.
Yeah. Maybe it's better to talk about a project that you're working on, kind of.
Yeah, well, I think I'll probably talk about my own company because that's something that I started about a few months back. See, um, yeah, at Nebulous Action. So I started Nebulous Action about 8 months back, and that has been one of the themes at Nebulous Action as well. So we are working with the organizations, and we have seen it now that it's basically the era of AI. So we are developing some of the industry focused, vertical focused use cases with the power of Gen AI that delivers the real outcomes and healthcare, financial institution, even retail. If you are not jumping or hopping onto this bus now, then you'll soon find yourself out of the competition and lagging behind, and then you'll probably start playing that catching up game.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. Thanks for your time.
We'll to
We'll put a link
to your website on the YouTube and in the description if anyone
Thank
needs
you.
that.
Yeah, that would be great.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks for your time. Thanks, Georgia. Thanks, Anu.
Awesome. Thank you very
Appreciate it.
much, guys. Thanks for having me on the episode.
Thanks all.
Yes.
Till next time. Give us feedback, listeners. Appreciate your feedback. Thank you.